So last night, as I was about to watch TV, I decided that I felt fidgety, and I have a bunch of yarn in my yarn basket. This is just one big ball. And I thought, let me learn a new crochet stitch. So I found NordicHook.com, and she's got a bunch of really pretty crochet stitches on her blog, and so I will share that down below. So this was the first one on there. I started looking through, and then I decided just go with the first one, go down the row. And this is called the Trinity stitch. It's a really pretty stitch. I'll show you on the other side. Just creates this really cute, pretty kind of almost flower pattern. One thing I noticed as I laid this out for the video, let's see, can you tell what's not quite right about this picture? So I was chit-chatting a little while ago while I was crocheting this part, and you see how we sort of have a little dip here and then it goes straight again. That is because I missed a stitch on this row somewhere. So that means I'm going to have to pull the whole thing out to get to here. So this is a stitch where you're going to need to pay attention a little bit to what you're doing. It is okay. It happens. It's just a prime example of no matter how long you do these things, it happens. So I'm just going to pull that out and deal with that later. But I did want to show you that. So making a little scarf with that. I'll keep you updated. But let me show you how to do this stitch. It's very, very pretty. So first things first, we're going to get our slip knot, hold our little tail, loop that around, grab hold, lift the front up, get our hook through there, and voila. So you can make this any size you want, but you want to go in even numbers. So I'm going to do 20. I'm going to do a chain of 20, so just yarn over, pull through. So that's 19 and 20. So now here's what you need to remember, because I tried to overthink this. Don't overthink. So usually if we want something to be a width of 20, then we do that extra chain and do that 21, right? Excuse me, pollen season. But we're not doing that. We want the entire chain to end in an even number. So do 20 or 30 or 40, but we want it to be an even number. So it's basically just single crochets, which is great. We're going to do a single crochet in this second chain right here from the hook. Okay. Go in, yarn over, pull through. And now on this very first row, I would wiggle it up just a little bit, not to make it too loose, but you're going to need room to wiggle. So then we're going to yarn over and pull through, and that is our single crochet. So now we're going to go back into the same stitch that we just did our single crochet in. We're going to push the hook through, yarn over, pull it through, lift it up just a little bit, just to give it a little wiggle room. And then we're going to go into the very next stitch and yarn over. Again, lift it, give it a little wiggle. And then in the very next stitch and yarn over until you have 4 loops on your hook. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 hooks. So that's why you need to give it a little bit of wiggle room, especially on this first row where it's really easy for it to want to pull itself tight a little bit, and then it becomes difficult to work with. So we've pulled through all 4 loops, and then we're going to chain 1. So just yarn over and pull through. And now we're going to go in that same stitch again that we were just in, go through, yarn over, pull up, and we're going to do the same thing again. So back through the next chain, yarn over, pull up, and through the next chain, yarn over, pull up until you have 4 loops again, and that is what we're doing to the end. Okay, and then chain 1 and same thing, same loop we were in, 1, 2, and 3, and then pull through and chain 1. So we're going to do that all the way to the end. I'm going to do one more time. So we always start in the chain we just finished in, and we're going in every stitch. We're just creating these cute little bundles and on the row. So you can see where that little flowery-ish pattern is coming up. And we're going to pull through all 4 loops and chain 1. So we're going to do that all the way to the end. So we're down to our last few stitches here, our last few chains. I've just done my chain 1. I'm going to go into the same space I was just in, and then the next 2 spaces, 1, 2. So this is our last space on the chain, right? And then again, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. But instead of doing a chain 1 at the very end, we're going to go back into that last space right there and do a single crochet. So yarn over, pull through the 2 for your single crochet, and then yarn over to chain 1, turn it, and we're starting on the next row. Now in the next row, we're going to start with our single crochet right here in this space. So single crochet, and then we're going to follow that same pattern. So in the same space, yarn over, and then in the next 2 spaces, in the next 2 stitches right here, you can see the stitches at the top. I should say stitches, not spaces. And the 1 is always a little bit tricky to get through, I've noticed. And then the other ones are kind of easy peasy. And yarn over and pull through 4. And I think I kind of made something messy. I made something messy. I can feel where it's noodled up. Let me back that up. I think I had a loose string somewhere. This yarn is trying to unnoodle itself. So I think what happened was sometimes you can see where the threads want to come apart, and I think one of them got stuck. So I just fixed that. All right, so now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do the same pattern all the way down the row. So again, working in the same stitch we just finished in. Pull through, and then the next 2, and the next 2 stitches, and then you have your 4 loops, and you pull through your 4 loops, chain 1, and just keep going all the way down the row. So that is basically the pattern, and this is the one, there's always that one, I think it's the one that's on top of the little shape, that's always a little bit, gives a little bit of a resistance for you to get through. So we're doing this all the way down the row, and just keep in mind that at the end of your rows, you're doing your single crochet. Oh, this yarn is squeaking. Did you hear that? You're doing your single crochet at the end, your chain 1, and then when you turn it, you do another single crochet on the other side, and you'll see where the pattern wants to start to form. So again, we're at the end of our row, and in the stitch we were just in, and then the next 2, right into that last stitch right there. Oh, where are you? This yarn is not being very conducive to this demo right now. All right, and then we're going to yarn over, have our 4 loops, and then pull through the 4 loops, and then instead of chaining 1, you're going to first into the last space again, chain 1, then do, or single crochet rather, then chain 1, then turn it around, and then another single crochet, and then starting in that same space again, we're yarning over to do our pattern, and chain 1. So that's basically what we're doing all the way down. It creates a really pretty pattern. Now, one thing I will say is depending on what you're using this for, it does create a bit of a bulk, right? So for this yarn, and I'm using a number 6 hook for this, so it's keeping it a little bit more flexible. So I was trying with another yarn. I didn't bring that because it's a black yarn and it doesn't show up really great. I actually, instead of using the hook size that it was recommended for it, I went 1 size up because it was getting so thick, because it's a really fuzzy yarn, that it just made it really clunky. So I actually used a looser or one size larger hook instead of a 6. I used an 8, which just made the stitches a little bigger. It made it a little more flexible. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're creating patterns and different stitches like this. Keep the yarn in mind. If it feels like it's too thick or too bulky, just take it out and frog it out and start with a larger hook, or, you know, just kind of decide what your blah, 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 words. Okay, so depending on the project you want to do, if you're doing a scarf, for example, it's okay for it to be a little bulky, but you want to make sure it stays flexible. If you're doing, say, like a pillowcase, you could make it a little bit of a less flexible, more firm pattern, right? Using the hooks and the yarns accordingly. Just all these things to keep in mind. So I'm going to take this one apart. Oh, and down to that point, and I'm going to keep going with her, and I'll keep you guys posted and let you see how it goes. Let me know if you try this stitch. I think it's a really pretty one. I do. I think it's a really pretty one. I think I'm going to try a few more of those stitches that I found on there. Let me know what you find. If you go to her blog and check any of them out, or if you have some stitches that you would like to see and have me try my hand at, I would be happy to. I'm always looking for new things. I get bored. So always good with the new stuff. All right, you guys, take care. I'll see you next time.